Okay, so we have just a second. Yeah, am I audible? Hello.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay, great. Okay, so we have seen that we have different types of uh, data, structured, semi-structured, unstructured. Okay, so this document I'll be sharing with you guys. So relational database store data in relational tables, but sometimes structure imposed by these models can be too rigid. You know that relational database has a fixed schema, like you have to create tables, you have to create all the columns, and so even if you want to add any more information, you have to add a column, you have to modify the structure of the database. So it has a fixed schema, but other things we have schema less, or we have semi-structured data which works on key value pairs. So there are many such databases nowadays. It is called as NoSQL database. Mohan, can you hear me? Mohan? Mohan?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. So these models are called as NoSQL databases, which doesn't have fixed, it has a key value pair. So they will store data in key value pair is the most common one, but mostly it is key value pair is very commonly used. But if you see some databases like JSON, it stores in form of documents, but that is also key value pair. Then we have some databases which are in the form of graphs and some column family stores. So in the previous lectures, I gave you some brief about that, right? So this Azure Cosmos DB is a highly scalable cloud database service for NoSQL database. So if you want to use NoSQL database, then you have to take this service from Azure Cosmos DB. So it allows you all of that. So and for SQL, uh, Azure SQL has got a, maybe in the next class I'll explain you how the SQL works in Azure Cloud. We have done standalone, but on the cloud how it is working, that we'll see. So we have so here it's showing you different types of NoSQL database documents, graphs, key value tables, and column family stores. So that is all NoSQL database. Now Azure Cosmos DB supports multiple application programming interface that enables developers to use the programming semantics of many common kinds of data stored to work with data in Cosmos DB. So you have to understand what is application programming interface. What is API? Any idea? Do you have any idea what is an API? Yes, Mr. Tushar. What is an API?
I'm not sure.
Rinaldi, any idea what is an API? Rinaldi, can you hear me?
You hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you now. Yes. What is an
There are
API?
there are two systems, two different systems.
Hmm.
The Java one might be uh,
Your voice is
they
breaking actually. Yeah, tell me.
and when they are used to communicate, there is a means to communicate between the two different systems, that is API.
API is like standard libraries. You know, API makes it easy for the developer to work with a particular system. Like Cosmos DB is one thing like this. You know, Cosmos DB is the Azure service, and if you want to talk to the Cosmos DB, then what they have done is they have given you number of APIs, application programming interface. So it is a paradise for the developers. API is a paradise for the developers, you can say. So those libraries are given. It makes the things easier for the developer. So this Cosmos DB is supports multiple application programming interfaces API. So if you are a developer who is working in, for example, you know, let's say you're working in MongoDB or you're working with uh, the other different types like or SQL. Say you want to use the SQL syntax only. So this Cosmos DB will help you to give the SQL command, but underlying data will be your JSON. See, for example, this one. So select star from customer C where C dot ID equal to this, so and so. So the result of the query will be in the JSON format like this. But if you see the syntax of this query, it is like a SQL, right? What you have studied. So underlying structure is different, but using the SQL syntax, you are able to do the job. Are you getting my point now? So this is the kind of interface it provides. So that if you are familiar with some kind of interfaces like SQL, you can use similar thing to query the NoSQL database as well. You can say like that. So that's why it says the internal data structure is abstracted, enabling developers to use Cosmos DB to store and query data using APIs with which they are familiar with. So the word abstraction is very uh, important in technology. What do you mean by abstraction? Anybody who can tell me what is abstraction actually? Yes, Tejas, can you tell me what is abstraction? What is the meaning of the word abstraction in technology?
No, sir, I don't. No clue.
Anyone? Yeah, abstraction means It is it is hiding the complexity. For example, the data is in the NoSQL format, and you are not comfortable using that. But if you can query the same thing using SQL syntax, then you are happy, right? So it has created abstraction. Like you write SQL query, but that query gets translated into a form which by which it can extract data from NoSQL database also. That is abstraction. So abstraction is just making it easier for the end user, hiding the complexity. That is abstraction. So that's what this Cosmos DB does. It just hides the complexity so that using your familiar interface, you're able to do most of the task. So the word API will be very is very common nowadays, but you guys are not from the development environment, so you will have to imagine this. I can only tell you that these APIs are like ready-made libraries made by the system. Like the cloud, every cloud provider nowadays is giving you some ready-made libraries by which you can interface to the cloud very easily. So it
Can
is
you give
giving
few
you,
examples
yeah,
of APIs that are currently in the market? Like,
yeah, I will tell you. See,
okay,
now we are connecting to the cloud, yeah, Azure portal, right? We have created the storage account. Didn't we do that yesterday? We created the storage account. We created uh, some uh, uh, some activity we did. We uploaded the blob into it, right? Then we created the file share also yesterday. So that we did using the portal. We actually logged into the Azure portal and we did all these activities there, right? So, but the same thing a programmer can do using APIs. Like if you know Python or if you know Java or if you know .NET or C Sharp, any programming language. So you can create storage account through that also. That means without logging into the Azure portal manually, the program can actually connect to the portal through APIs. So API is something ready-made programming libraries which the cloud has generated for each programming language. So nowadays all cloud platforms, it may be it Azure, be it AWS, be it any other platform, Google. So they all provides APIs. So APIs are like standard libraries which the developers can use to interface with the cloud. So without actually logging on to the portal, they can do it with the help of programming. Is this clear now? Did you get the idea? Who asked the question? Tushar, you had asked the question, right?
Yes,
Hmm?
Mohanas.
Mohan had asked. Okay. So Mohan, are you getting some idea?
hello, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, yes, we can.
Yeah, I was able to get an idea. Uh, Thank you. The reason I asked that question is like I am working with the interface team, and we often come across this term APIs, and just curious to know. Heard about a few like Frisia and Follow My Health is one of our products, and I think that operates on this functionality. So wanted to relate.
Can you all hear me? There's some issue with the Teams.
Yeah, we can hear
Yes,
you.
sir.
Yeah. Yeah, Mohan, I was asking you, is this clear to you? What is API actually?
Yes, yes, I answered, but then I think you couldn't hear when.
Mhm. It very simply said, API is ready-made libraries for the programmers. Using those
Mhm.
libraries, they can connect to the cloud, they can perform operations in the cloud easily.
Okay.
So they don't have to do a lot of efforts, programming efforts. No, if you know any programming language, you can use the APIs to interface with the cloud.
Okay.
And they're giving APIs for all standard programming languages, be it Python, be it Java, be it .NET, C Sharp. So you can write programs in any language of your choice nowadays. See, this cloud thing which I'm taking is a brief introduction, because you guys are new to this. So I'm just trying to make it more fruitful for you guys.
Mhm.
But yes, uh, at least you will get something, if not nothing. So I'm just trying to see how I can just give you more and more benefits. That's it.
Yeah.
So the APIs vary for different database management system. So we have so many databases. We have seen only SQL, but we have so many databases in the market, right? So So we have to use the right set of APIs. So these cloud providers are very smart. They have given APIs for every damn thing. So the development task has become easier to interface with the cloud. So Cosmos DB uses indexes and partitioning to provide fast read and write performance and can scale to massive volumes of data. Indexing, you know that. We have studied indexing, right? So what are the different types of indexes you have studied? Do you remember? Types of indexes?
Clustered, non-clustered, and
Yeah, clustered, non-clustered index. That's right. Very good. That's right. So indexing makes your access faster, right? But partitioning is a new concept. What is partitioning? But I think I had explained something about partitioning. Do you remember what is partition? I know I'm putting a lot of concepts to you, but again, the scope of this subject is limited. It's mostly theoretical, but some practicals yesterday we did on the cloud. So partitioning is what I had introduced this partitioning also. Anybody knows what is partitioning? Yes, Tejas, do you know what is partitioning of?
no, sir.
Mhm.
So I guess it's creating multiple storages in one DB.
No, partitioning is like suppose you have financial data, for example, a table which contains all financial records. Okay,
Mm.
so uh, those financial records. Now we don't. We want only current financial year records, right? Most of the time we want to refer to only current financial year record. Okay, so
Okay.
but the but maybe you are having data from past 10 years. So what happens? That table size becomes very huge. So there is a concept of partitioning when you do higher courses, higher level courses when you will do in cloud or in SQL, like you have done one level of SQL. In advanced level, you learn how to do partitioning of the tables. So you work with only single partition, like current year partition. So only that data will be getting loaded. You're getting P. Other data even though logically it's present in the table, but you're not accessing it. You are storing current partition in a particular faster device so that you can access it faster. So that is called as partitioning of data, right? You
Okay.
segregate the data so that the operations, the performance become faster. So how it becomes faster, it's a big subject actually, right? So that you do in the next course. If you do from here, you can do a course called data engineering. That is one thing. Another course is data analytics using Power BI. There's another course you can do. So data engineering, of course, it is the very, very valuable course, and it works totally on the cloud and handles all types of data. Whatever data types I'm teaching you now, it is an introduction. But yes, so as I said, the data scope has increased in the field of data. It is not just SQL data. What you are working with is only SQL data, but we have non-SQL, no SQL data, which I am just explaining you now. So you can enable multi-region rights, adding Azure regions of your choice to your Cosmos DB account so that globally distributed users can each work with data in the local replica. So it is just making it easier. The performance will become easier if you have a multinational company and we have users spread all across the globe. Then what it does is it can make a replica of the data and people can store locally so that the changes will happen locally and then it will get replicated to the other parts of the world. So it's a complete architecture is there. So this cloud provides you all this. Cloud offers the latest of the technology. Today I'm teaching you the theory part. Tomorrow we can do the practicals. I have a practical exercise also on this Cosmos DB. We can do that as well. So use Cosmos DB. So again, it's talking about partitions only. Containers of your partitions automatically allocate space. So it's a foundational service in Azure. Has been used by many of the Microsoft products for mission critical applications at global scale, including Skype, Microsoft 365. So they have given some use cases like where this Cosmos DB is being used. So one is IoT and telematics. What is IoT? Anybody knows what is IoT?
Internet of Things.
Yes. Internet of Things means what? Any example?
Alexa.
Yeah, correct. Very good example. Internet of Things means the devices also nowadays are connected to internet, right? It can be your car, whatever devices you work with, they are also connected to internet. So they also transfer a lot of data from here and there. It can be hospital. In hospitals, you have patients, and patients have many sensors connected, and the sensors, those patients will transmit a lot of data. Okay, so that is also Internet of Things. So these are examples where telematics. I have done consultancy for one firm which was using cranes. The cranes was sending some data that was in key value pairs. So these are the examples of no SQL database. Normally you have worked with the SQL database, but these areas it is no SQL database is very familiar. Like if it's a patient data, then you want to uh, key value could be the name of patient. Key is patient and value is the patient name. Key is BP and the value is the actual BP. It's like that. So it works in key value pair like this. Then retail and marketing. So in e-commerce also gaming applications, wherever the data is in form of key value pairs, web and mobile applications. So there are a lot of such applications where NoSQL database will be really useful rather than making use of SQL database, which is tabular form, which has a rigid schema. The NoSQL will really help there. So this is a very big market nowadays. And it's a serverless distributed database for applications of any size or scale with support for both relational and non-relational workloads. So this is the mostly people are using this Postgres SQL, MongoDB, Apache Cassandra. These are the database engines. So we have seen only Microsoft SQL, right? But we have so many database systems in the market. So these are some of them, like Postgres SQL, MongoDB, Apache Cassandra. So we can just migrate all these applications to the cloud. The idea is most of the applications are working on premises, but this help you to migrate them to cloud. The Cosmos DB really help you to do that. So when you provision a new Cosmos DB instance, you select the database engine that you want to use. The choice of engine depends on on many factors, including type of data to be stored, the need to support existing application skills of developers who will work with the data store. So this is what we call as abstraction. Because there are so many databases available, so many applications. So this gives you a abstraction wherein you can port those applications to the cloud, and you can just, when you create a DB instance, you can specify what engine you want to use, and it will do that abstraction. So that means the code will not change. Whatever you were doing before, same thing you're doing here. The Cosmos DB is silently doing the translation and making your life comfortable. So you can see this Azure Cosmos DB for NoSQL, then for MongoDB. So have you heard of these database engines, MongoDB? Yeah. Postgres SQL. Postgres SQL is the relational database, just like SQL, but it is open source. For table is, we have seen the storage. Table storage key value pair. Apache Cassandra, like that. So Apache Cassandra is for column family storage structure. Column family. We other day we saw what is column family. Apache Gremlin is for the data in graph. The data is stored in graphs. Many times you find it easier to store data in a graph format like this. So I know this is all a new concept for you, but whether you like it or you don't like it, you're going to face all these types of data in the future. So it's good that I'm giving you some introduction about this data right now so that you are aware of that. Yes, have you heard of MongoDB, anyone? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Azure Cosmos DB for NoSQL is Microsoft native non-relational service for working with document data model. Document data model means JSON. Other day we saw that JSON. What is full form of JSON? Anyone? What is JSON? Yes, Rinaldi, what is JSON? What does JSON stand for? Rinaldi, can you hear me? Rinaldi was out for 5 minutes, you said, right? Tushar, what does JSON stand for?
Java structure.
Hmm? Sultan, what does JSON stand for? Sultan, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Uh, I didn't really recall it. It's for JavaScripts, but not about the ONN of it.
Mohan?
JavaScript object notation, sir.
Yeah, JavaScript object notation. So it's a very commonly used format, JavaScript object notation. So SQL query for the JSON documents are like that. Okay, it is of this form actually. So if the data is in this particular form, see it's a key value pair. Look at this. ID is the key and value is Joad whatever. Name is the key and this is the value. Address is the key and the value is this. This is the value. In that again there is a key and there is a value, key and value. So this is the JSON format. So this is called as one document. So when you store data in the JSON format, it's called document. And believe me, this JSON is a very commonly used format in cloud. So it's good that you're getting aware of it. I'm sorry if I don't know how much knowledge I'm able to impart in such a short time. I'm trying my best to give a lot of things. So I hope you're not getting overwhelmed with so many things, right? Are you or I mean you are getting something, Tejas?
Yes, sir. Gaining a lot of things. This is all
Okay.
new for us.
Yeah, I know. So it manages data in JSON document format, and despite being no SQL data storage, it uses, see, this is very important, uses SQL syntax to work with the data. So even if your data is not in the tabular form, which you are aware of, the data is actually in the JSON form. But when you query, you'll query using this SQL format. In the next class, we'll do a practical on this. So I have designed one practical also for this. So today I'm taking a theory. Next class we'll do a practical. So we do like this. Select star from customer C where C dot ID equal to so and so. So it is a SQL syntax, but the output will come here as a JSON format like this. So that is the beauty of this Cosmos DB. That is abstraction. Abstraction is making your life easier. The technology is doing that nowadays. It's making the things easier for you. Then similarly, you have Azure DB. As I told you, when you create an instance in Cosmos DB, you can specify what database engine you want to use. So you can use a NoSQL engine, you can use a MongoDB. So a lot of the developers, they are using MongoDB databases. So if they are familiar with MongoDB, then they can create that. So they can use the syntax of MongoDB, just like you have SQL, you have MongoDB query language, MQL. So MongoDB is very popular actually, popular open source database which in which data is stored in binary JSON format. Azure Cosmos DB for MongoDB enables developer to use MongoDB client libraries and code to work with the data in Azure Cosmos DB. So whatever MongoDB applications you may be having offsite, you can just migrate it to the cloud and it will just work. So MongoDB is using MQL instead of SQL. It uses MQL, so it has got its own syntax. So a lot of developers are nowadays MongoDB developers. So MongoDB is storing the data in JSON format, but it's binary format. Uses a compact object-oriented syntax in which developers use objects to call methods. Find method to find the products collection in the DB object. So the syntax is little different. So DB dot products dot find ID equal to ID 123. So the result is going to come like this. So of course you are not familiar with MongoDB, but remember that MongoDB is a very popular database engine for NoSQL. And a lot of applications are nowadays using the MongoDB as a database engine, right? Then PostgreSQL is the very commonly used open source RDBMS. It's a your tab like SQL only, RDBMS, Relational Database Management System. But it's open source. Mostly it's free of charge. Native globally distributed relational database management system that shards data to help you build highly scalable apps. So nowadays we want data not to be just stored in a single system. We want to develop application which people can use from any nook and corner of the world. Do you agree with me? You want to create applications where people will be able to use them from any nook and corner of the world. We are looking to build those kind of applications, okay? So in that challenge comes is that where to keep the database. If you keep database in India, what about the US clients? What about the UK clients? So that becomes a challenge, a bottleneck. So that's why we need a distributed system wherein, so that's what this Cosmos DB does. You know, it's a globally distributed relational database that automatically shards data to help you to build highly scalable apps. So automatically it will distribute the data at different regions. Intelligently it will manage. So people will be storing the data locally, but it will get replicated properly. You know, so it is a complete architecture which has. So the word distributed, you have to understand what is distributed relational database like this. Distributed means that database is divided to many partitions across the world and people can use it effectively. So that applications will run very nicely from all nook and corner of the world because it's a distributed relational database. So in such a short course, I cannot just go into too much deep into that, but keep this in mind. And scalable and performance requirements grows, you can seamlessly scale to multiple nodes by transparently distributing your tables. So you can start with single node server group, but as your application scales means the number of users may increase, the locations may increase from where you access the application. So as you're scaling, so you can add more nodes to the, uh, so it becomes a cluster. So other day I explained you what is a cluster. Cluster is a collection of nodes. So automatically it will do that. So Postgres is nothing but your normal SQL only. It's a relational database. So where you will give the SQL queries and you will get the familiar output as you get for normal SQL. Same thing you're going to get here, nothing different. Then this is Azure DB for table. So other day we studied the different types of storages. in Azure. So what were the types of storage? One is block storage. What were the other types of storages? Can you just tell me? What are the different types of storages which you can procure in Azure? First one is block storage. What next? Yes, come on. Slow क्यों है? Blob storage then?
Page.
हाँ, उसमें blob storage में 3 types है, page blob, append blob and the block blob. Okay. Then table storage भी था ना उसमें, key value पे store करने के लिए table storage. Then file share storage. तो ऐसे अलग अलग टाइप के स्टोरेज हम ले सकते हैं डिपेंडिंग ऑन व्हाट वी वांट टू स्टोर. So these are some storages. Apart from that, if you want SQL, तो SQL का एक अलग से इंस्टेंस क्रिएट कर सकते हैं Azure में. Okay, now, so table storage is for storing key value pairs. So we saw that there's a row key also and there's partition also. And key is like name is the key, value is Joe Jones. Email is the key, value is Joe @ so and so. So that is a table storage. They call it table storage, but actually essentially it's a key value pair. The name is misleading. So Azure Cosmos DB for table is used to work with data in key value tables, similar to Azure Table Storage. It offers greater scalability and performance than Azure Table Storage. So always see this Cosmos DB is talking about scalability and performance. So always scaling is a very big challenge. So this cloud is solving the challenge for you. It does it very transparently. Transparently bolo या abstraction के साथ बोलो. It is doing that. Okay. All right. So now, so when you create a Cosmos DB instance for table storage, it will allow you to store data in the key value form like this. So you can use the table API through one of the language specific SDKs to make calls to your service endpoint to retrieve data from the table. Rows returns the record Samir, this thing in the table above. So the syntax is little different to access these. Like here we are saying this endpoint name customers partition key is equal to 1, row key is equal to 124. Because every row has got a partition key and a row key. So we have to specify that and it is getting retrieved. And see how we are accessing it. We are accessing it using a URL. So every type of database engine has a way to access data. So it helps you to do everything through the URLs like this. Using this URL, you will store it and access it and do whatever. Then Azure Cosmos DB for Apache Cassandra. This Cassandra is very popular nowadays, very hot product. So at least you will you should know what is this Cassandra means so Azure Cosmos DB for Apache Cassandra is compatible with Apache Cassandra, which is a popular open source that uses a column family storage structure. So do you remember column family storage structure? Anybody remembers? The first document which I shared with you, it has that. What is column? How does it look like? Column family, like you can group number of many columns into a particular column family. Okay. Normally, you see that every data has got only one column, right? But you can group into a column family also. So these are nothing but tables similar to those in relational data, with the exception that it's not mandatory for every row to have the same columns. So here again, Cassandra supports a syntax based on SQL. So a client application could retrieve the record for Ben Chan like this. You say select star from employee where ID equal to 2. So it retrieves thing. Then we have Apache Gremlin. This is also very famous. This is for storing the data in form of graphs like this. So many times, some business applications, it's always good to use this graphs. Ben reports to Sue. Sue works in this like this. So graph is like a pictorial thing. So it becomes many times it becomes easier to represent business scenarios using graphs like this. So if you want to specify the set of activities, like the graphs is a very ideal thing to represent. If you want to say, for example, application where the newspaper wala is going to deliver the newspaper at so many societies, so it can be shown as a graph. So many business applications, the graphs works very well. To store the data in the form of graph, it becomes very well. So Apache Cosmos DB for Apache Gremlin. Apache Gremlin is an engine for storing the data in form of graph. Is used data in graph structure in which entities are defined as vertices that form nodes in the connected graph. Nodes are connected by edges that represent the relationship. So we studied what are entities. So in this case of graphs, these nodes are the entities and the edges are the relationship between the entities. They define that. So these are vertices. Employee and department are, and edges connect. Employee Ben reports to you, and both employees work in hardware department. So Gremlin allows you to operate on vertices and edges, enabling you to insert, update, delete, and query data in graph. So its syntax will be different. Like here, say if you want to add a new employee, which is also in hardware department, right? what it's saying, you could use the following code to add a new employee named Alice that reports to the employee Sue. So here we add a vertex. So this kind of syntax they are using to add the information in the graph. The following query returns all the employees vertices in the order of ID. So of course, these are different, what do you say, syntax altogether, and it's a big subject altogether. The purpose of this document is not to make you proficient in all of that, but just to make aware of what is there. What are the different kinds of database services you can subscribe to? What are the different types of database engine this guy can give us? So basically these are the four types of NoSQL database. They all comes under NoSQL: document based, graphs based, key value tables, column family stores. So this is what we have. Okay, so got a brief idea with this, right? So let me ask you quick questions. What is API? Come on, quickly tell me what is an API? Full form of API? Short questions I'll ask. Come on.
It's application programmable interface.
Yes, application programming interface. API is
Programming.
nothing but application programming interface. Correct.
So
Then next is okay. Which database engine is used for storing data in form of graph? Rinaldi?
Ache Gremlin.
Yes, correct. Okay. Next question. What is the full form of JSON? Tushar? What is the full form of
JavaScript
JSON?
object notation.
JavaScript object notation. Correct. That's right. Then the next thing is okay. What is the name given to each record in JSON? When you store data in form of JSON, what is the name given to it? Yes, what is the name given to each record in JSON?
Key value.
Hmm?
Key value.
No, no. Each record is called as document. उसको डॉक्यूमेंट बोलते हैं जेसन का जो डेटाबेस होता है ना उसको each record is called a document. Each document will have number of key value pairs. All right. Then next thing is what do you mean by abstraction? How this Cosmos DB creates abstraction? Yes. What is abstraction actually? Abstraction is what, very simple words. What is abstraction?
Doesn't show you what it is doing inside, outside. Uh, is
Yeah,
easier.
correct, correct. It's easier. It makes the job easy for you, right? Abstraction is going to. Mohan got disconnected or what? Hmm. Yeah, abstraction means it is going to all the complexity is going to hide. So how this Apache, sorry, how this Cosmos DB is doing that? How is it creating abstraction for you? Can you tell me? What, in what way it is keep, creating the abstraction? Yes. Yes. Hello. Yeah, Tejas, can you tell me how is it creating abstraction? Tejas, can you hear me? Tejas, am I audible to you? We can't hear you. See, abstraction is creating because see, it allows you to create the database model of your choice. So when you create a new instance in Cosmos DB, you can say you want a MongoDB instance or you want a Gremlin, you want Postgres SQL or no SQL. So it is doing that. So abstraction is created there. Okay. So we don't have to really do a lot of setup. Directly, it will help you to port your existing applications or write new applications. And it's both scalable and it gives you performance scalability. So something, whatever the headaches are there for implementing the technology, it is taking away all those things. That's the abstraction. That's what we mean by abstraction. It gives you a chance to set up an application which is scalable and performance is there and scalable is there like that. All right. Now, so I've designed one exercise also that also I will share you with you guys. Just let me see. So we can, it's a small exercise. We can do it tomorrow actually. Sultan, your account is still working, right?
So that was created
Sunny.
by Sunny. Yeah.
Acha, acha, Sunny created it. Sorry. Today is not available. Yeah, so in this exercise, can you all see the screen? So we'll be creating one Azure Cosmos DB for no SQL, right? So we give all these things. Just a second. Okay, so here we have creating this Cosmos DB. Then we create a sample database also in that. Then create some new items like this. We save it there. Then we query the database. So it gives you a brief idea like how to create an instance of Cosmos DB, how to create items. So we are creating a NoSQL database here. We are creating a database engine which is Azure Cosmos DB for NoSQL. So it will be a different experience. But even though the data is in form of JSON, we are using a standard query language like SQL language to query it. That is also abstraction. So it's hiding the complexity inside and it's giving you that facility. Okay, getting it? Hello, Tejas? Tejas, are you there? Tejas, can you hear me? I'm not able to hear you. I think he's having connectivity issues. Okay, Tejas, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. I was unable to unmute myself.
Yeah, no problem, no issue, no issue.